Welcome to Business Purpose and Clarity with Petri. I'm your host. We talk about startup life, insights, practical tips, mistakes, failures, and everything between. Are you stuck? You think you need to wait for something to happen before you can move on. Most of the time, it's just in your head. You can already go further, do stuff, prepare the next steps. But it requires that you frame the question differently. You change the perspective. You ask the right question. And this is the most trickiest part. It's hardest to start to think about differently, start to ask the question, okay, if I have that thing I'm waiting for, it's already there, what I will do next, what is the bottleneck here? What are the things which are preventing me to do something? What if I already have that? Would that change anything? Many occasions I have found out that because of some issues, it feels like that I really cannot move forward. But when I start to look at the thing a bit more thoroughly, I realize that it's not actually preventing me to do anything. It's just in my head, and it's just excuse not to do the next steps, not to think further, excuse not to do the hard part. It's so nice to do things sequential. You do one thing and then you do the next thing. But the human condition is that most of the time we are just basically waiting. There's some action points, some moments where things are happening and then we're just waiting. Like you're going from one meeting to another, where you're talking to these people, but what do you do in the middle? Well, you're transporting yourselves, there's logistics, there are stuff happening, which is basically just idle time. Same thing with your business building. There are action points when you're sending emails, asking for something, and then you're waiting. It's mainly waiting. And this is something, if you can do things while you're waiting, you can initiate the next steps, you can compress time, you can become quicker, faster. You can even realize that sometimes the way you've been approaching things is not the right way to do things, but because it's just easy to react, wait for the next thing and then react again and keep on repeating this thing. But if you stop and you start to ask questions, you stop and ask further questions. Why, how, what, if, then. The realizations start to come. But it's hard. It takes effort. It's painful because we need to do the heavy lifting before we actually have all the parts needed. Well, this sounds pretty academical, I would assume. But if you just remember one thing, mainly the problem is framing the question, not in looking for the answers. So, like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the answer is easy, it's 42. But what is the question?